I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job and their partner agencies do their job.
Translation: don't believe your lying eyes. Wait until the official story can be completed that you are supposed to believe 100% without any skepticism. Absolutely do not go out to the larger internet and look at any alternative information sources that are ongoingly being developed by independent sources on the ground as more information becomes available. Does any of this sound familiar to any of you? I think it sounds like a broken record for things that we've been hearing for the last several years. That was President Joe Biden just a few minutes ago as of the filming of this video. And what I wanted to do in today's video is just give you a rundown of what we know right this second. This is normally where I would insert a sponsor slot. I just think that at this stage, especially this being my first video on the incident, I'm sure there'll be ones in the future. I think it's highly inappropriate for me to profit off of this situation at this juncture, even though the mainstream media is doing that hand over fist right now, whatever. It's just not the way that I operate. If you want to support the channel, then there are ways out there that you can seek out to do that, including using our crowdfunding functions as well as the affiliates page. So thank you very much. We're just not going to go any farther than that today. That said, there are some things that we know. And there are some things that we can speculate about. I'm going to try to strike a good balance here. The first thing that I would say is due to the danger of censorship, probably can't show you a whole lot of imagery of this, but I do have some satellite photos that I will share with you. We know that the podium was located approximately right here. We also know that the elevated position that the shooter took is right here. If we measure this, it comes out to about 150 yards. I will not be giving this ratbag posthumous press by repeating his name, but we know that he was armed with an AR-style rifle, presumably chambered in .556. All this information is consistent with what you can find in various snippets of video that I obviously can't show you because YouTube's kind of lame. If you pull up your own version of the video from the stage, you can see that right as shots ring out, Donald Trump turns his head like this to speak into the microphone, and that is when a round strikes him in the ear from stage right, which is consistent with all of the information that I've presented to you up to this point. One of the things that we will likely have to wait for an official report on is how many rounds were actually fired. Microphones do weird things when they're exposed to supersonic gunfire, which this is likely a case of, especially at those kind of distances. So the signatures that we get from the video may not be necessarily representative of how many rounds were fired. Take it for somebody who works with firearms audio on a regular basis, that this is something that may be an idiosyncrasy of the recording equipment. There may be considerably more rounds fired than what we actually get in the videos that you've seen. That said, in that count, we also have to account for any return fire from the Secret Service, because the assailant was killed at the scene, such to the point where they had to use DNA evidence to determine who it actually was. Verifiable information out there about the trash human, or I suppose at this point in time, human trash, that perpetrated this act, injuring former President Trump, two bystanders and killing someone in the crowd, are as follows. He was a 20-year-old male. He graduated from high school 2 years ago from a town just down the road a little ways from the convention. He was a registered Republican, which we'll get to here in my synopsis section, I suppose, and that he contributed on more than one occasion to leftist causes. Other information out there is that he's been picked up a few times with association with some violent riots in various cities across the United States affiliated with the Antifa groups. Let's talk about ballistics here for a second. We're assuming, again, that this is a .556 gun. And if we're talking about shooting a target at 150 yards, this is well within the capabilities of the firearm. Generally accepted is that the effective range of this type of rifle is 600 meters, although most people are going to effectively be able to shoot this inside of 400 yards, and that's with or without optics. So it doesn't really matter what the composition of the rifle was. At 150 yards, well within the capabilities of the firearm. At that distance, definitely a lethal weapon, definitely not a subcaliber as reported by some people out there. This is definitely, from listening to the audio, what we can glean from the audio is these are definitely supersonic rounds, and that is going to be consistent with 5.56. I mean, we are talking about one of the most popular weapons in the world. And even if you were just using raw statistics, you'd have a pretty good guess if you said that that's what was employed in this instance. And this all fits together to say that that's what this douchebag was using. That said, that is the end of the factual information that I'm going to present to you at this time. I have some more information that I'm working on developing now, but I cannot verify that it is factually accurate. What I'm now going to do is stray into the opinion side of things. It is clear that this individual was associated with various leftist causes. One of the things that's a little bit weird is that he is a registered Republican. Until you look into how things are kind of structured in the state of Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania has what is known as a closed primary system. This person was not old enough to vote in the previous election. One of the things that is relatively common is to vote for the party that you don't really want to do well in the election. This was once called Operation Chaos. Here in the state of Ohio, we have an open primary system, and I have routinely requested a Democrat ballot to vote for the person that I think is least qualified to run against whatever candidate it is that is running. In the state of Pennsylvania, that is not that way. You actually have to be registered with the party to be able to vote in the primary elections. I believe that this is what was going on here. A broke individual does not give repeated political contributions to a group of the opposing belief system. You just don't do that. You give it to somebody that you actually believe in, which brings me up to the political affiliations with and active workings with the Antifa groups. I do not believe that this is a concerted effort by some kind of Antifa group out there to bump off the President of the United States. But I am going to say what I think everybody else is thinking at this point in time. You don't have to have an official fatwa issued by some Antifa leader somewhere against Donald Trump for these groups to be complicit in this sort of thing. Don't get me wrong. Protesting is outlined and enshrined in our Constitution. It is First Amendment protected conduct. But what is not First Amendment protected conduct is organizations acting in such a way to encourage their members to perpetrate crimes like looting, rioting, violence against individuals, violence against businesses, blocking of public services, destruction of property, etc., 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 things that you've seen repeatedly on the news over the course of the last several years. At a certain point, you cross the inflection line between First Amendment activist group and domestic terrorist training camp. So you've got all these brainwashed whack jobs that have been spun up over the last several years that have been spoon-fed a healthy diet of bullshit that is completely delineated from reality by all of the establishment outlets out there. And then they are enticed by organizations like this to get out there and physically do stuff all the time. And you think it's shocking that something like this occurs? I am not shocked whatsoever that this occurred. I thought it was an inevitability that this was eventually going to happen, which is disgusting in this country. I have attempted to film the outro in this video multiple times, and I'm just consistently failing. So I'm just going to abandon all poetic rhetoric here and tell you how I feel. I think that we as a people, every single person in this United States, are exceptionally lucky that it's an individual like these people that decided to perpetrate a heinous act like this, because these are the ones that have, we'll say, a general lack of competency in all things, a general sense of ineptitude about them. It is clear to me that this person had no idea what it is that they were doing. I've outlined to you the capabilities of the weapon system, the ranges at which it occurred. I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, but this was a chip shot. It would not surprise me whatsoever if we had a way to figure this out, that this commie sycophant had no idea what end the bullets came out of when they started this whole thing. But the serious question that I must ask is, how does someone like this gain elevated advantage with a weapon on a rally protected by the Secret Service? And I think that in the coming days, weeks, and months, that we will find a definitive answer to that. And I think that somebody is likely going to be reassigned to mall cop duty here in pretty short order. That's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully, some more information will become available and we can talk about this some more. But as of today, I'm going to take the rest of the day off. Y'all have a good rest of the day. God bless.